In a valley of ancient bamboo, shrouded in mist and mystery, lived a young panda named Lan-Yue, whose name meant blue moon. His fur shimmered with a soft, ethereal glow under the dappled light of dawn. The forest around him was alive with whispers of legends, stories of a rare bamboo moon that would rise once in a generation, causing the bamboo to bloom and bringing renewal to the land. Lan-Yue would listen patiently to the elders, but while they spoke of peaceful days spent munching on tender shoots and rolling in soft leaves, a different feeling stirred in his heart. He yearned for more. He wanted to do more than just exist. He wanted to make a real difference. Every morning, he would climb a gentle slope and watch the world awaken. He saw the wind dance through the tall bamboo stalks, creating a symphony of rustles. He watched the deer skip silently through the grove, their movements like a graceful ballet, and saw the flash of red-winged birds darting through the canopy above. But his gaze would always drift to the distant ridge, where the bamboo thinned and the earth looked cracked and tired. A shadow seemed to hang over that edge of the valley, a looming threat that whispered of change. One bright afternoon, driven by a curiosity he could no longer ignore, Lan-Yue wandered farther than ever before. He journeyed toward that shadowed ridge, and with every step the air grew drier, the familiar scent of damp earth replaced by the smell of dust. The bamboo stalks here were different. They were brittle and pale, groaning with a dry rasp in the wind instead of swaying with a gentle rustle. Soon he stumbled into a clearing, a scar upon the land. Here, the canopy was torn open, revealing a harsh, unforgiving sky. The ground was littered with the skeletal remains of fallen bamboo, and a deep fissure, a raw wound in the earth itself, split the clearing in two. Shaken, Lan-Yue returned to the other pandas, his heart heavy with what he had discovered. He described the cracked earth and the dying bamboo. The older pandas listened, their faces etched with a familiar sadness. They sighed, admitting they knew of this place, the Great Break. It was a slow creeping doom, they explained, a sign that the valley's lifeblood was draining away. But they had grown comfortable in their peaceful groves, accustomed to the gentle rhythm of their days, and had chosen to ignore the encroaching decay, but Lan-Yue couldn't ignore it. His eyes, usually soft and gentle, now glowed with a fierce urgency. That evening, as twilight painted the sky in shades of purple and orange, he ventured deep into the hills to seek the counsel of a wise, old red panda said to be a spirit of the forest. The ancient creature listened to the young panda's frantic tale and then spoke, its voice like the rustling of 1,000 leaves. When the bamboo moon rises, you must not hide. You must climb the highest stalk and plant your vow into the wind. Night after night, the change in the valley became more pronounced. The great break widened, its dark chasm seeming to swallow the moonlight. The smaller animals, the rabbits and the voles, had already fled. The graceful deer, sensing the growing scarcity, drifted away toward lusher lands. Even the great stream that fed the roots of the bamboo forest slowed to a sluggish trickle. Lan-Yue watched as his friends and family grew anxious, their playful wrestling replaced by fretful pacing. A new sound began to haunt the nights, a low, guttural roar that echoed from the mountains. A pack of wolves, drawn by the scent of weakness and fear, had arrived. They crept along the edges of the thinning bamboo, their yellow eyes gleaming in the dark, a tangible threat to the once peaceful community. One evening, Lan-Yue stood upon a large, moss-covered rock, watching the shadowy forms of the wolves prowl just beyond the grove. His paws trembled, not from the evening chill, but from a deep, gnawing fear. Was he brave enough to face this? The older pandas possessed strength, and the forest itself held ancient wisdom, but what did he have? All he had was hope and the restless energy of youth. Taking a deep breath that filled his entire chest, he squared his shoulders and let out a roar. It wasn't as powerful as the wolves, but it was filled with a desperate courage that rang through the valley. The wolves paused, their heads cocked in surprise. They were momentarily startled by this unexpected defiance, but they did not retreat. The standoff had begun. Then it came. The night of the bamboo moon. A breathtaking silvery light, unlike any normal moonlight, washed over the forest, making every leaf and stalk shimmer as if coated in frost. This was the moment the old red panda had spoken of. Remembering his purpose, Lan-Yue found the tallest, strongest bamboo stalk at the heart of the grove and began to climb. The stalk swayed violently under his weight, a slender mast in a stormy sea. The wind whipped around him, howling in his ears, and from the fissure below, a low rumble echoed, as if the earth itself was groaning in pain. His heart pounded against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat of fear and determination. Finally, he reached the very top. Clinging on as the stalk bent beneath him, he looked up at the radiant bamboo moon and planted his vow into the wind. "As long as I breathe," he roared, his voice carrying across the valley, "I shall protect this grove." As he spoke, he stretched his paw towards the moon's glow. A cascade of pale, shimmering light flowed from the sky, down his paw, and into the bamboo stalk. It traveled like lightning down to the roots and out to every leaf. Below, the entire forest seemed to stir, awakened by the magical energy. The rumbling from the fissure paused. The wolves, unsettled by the sudden brilliant glow, backed away into the shadows. And the stream, which had been so sluggish, began to gurgle with renewed strength. Faint green shoots, then fuller ones, began to sprout at the edges of the decay. Lan-Yue clung to the swaying stalk, exhausted but resolute, until the first light of dawn broke the horizon. As the warm colors of sunrise painted the sky, Lan-Yue carefully descended. The forest that greeted him was transformed. It felt alive, vibrant. The birds sang a jubilant chorus, the graceful deer had returned to drink from the now flowing stream, and the older pandas nodded at him with a newfound respect in their eyes. Life had begun again. The fissure was already starting to heal, new soil covering its raw edges. The entire valley seemed to exhale a collective sigh of relief. Years passed. Lan-Yue grew older, his jet-black fur now touched with distinguished gray at the edges. He became an elder himself, watching over a new generation of cubs as they tumbled and played in the cool bamboo shadows. He would sit among them, his voice calm and steady, and tell the story of the bamboo moon, a story not just of magic, but of belief, of taking action, and of the enduring power of hope. The valley thrived, a sanctuary of harmony restored by one panda's courage. The legend lived on, a promise woven into the rustling leaves. And one evening, as the next bamboo moon began its ascent into the sky, a wide-eyed young cub looked up at Lan-Yue and whispered, "Will I climb too?" Lan-Yue leaned down, a wise and gentle smile in his eyes, and replied, "Yes. You will carry the vow when your time comes. Thank you so much for watching." If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tailies from our channel. See you next time.